National Campaign Committee, notwithstanding the fact that House Republicans are in the majority. That was the case in the last Congress. That will be the case in this Congress, as already demonstrated by the January and February numbers. We will continue to make clear that in terms of spending priorities, that our frontline members are first amongst equals, because you cannot achieve addition, and we only need to flip 3 seats in order to take back the majority, but you cannot achieve addition if you allow subtraction to take place. So we're committed to making sure that every single frontline member returns to the House of Representatives after the November 2026 election.
Do you still believe there should be litigation in Texas over filling the late Sylvester Turner's seat now that a special election is scheduled?
We're taking a hard look at it to determine what is the rationale for delaying the special election by approximately 8 months, given that the Honorable Sylvester Turner passed away on March 5th. Last question, thanks.
It's unclear whether House Republicans will be able to suspend the debt limit on their own. The X date is coming up in August or September, according to CBO. If Democratic votes are needed to suspend the debt limit, what are some policy concessions that you would want, or would you be asking for something like that?
We'll continue to make clear that we are not going to provide a blank check to Donald Trump and extreme MAGA Republicans to enact massive tax breaks for their billionaire donors like Elon Musk, while at the same time using that blank check to try to slash healthcare programs like Medicaid and literally take food out of the mouths of children by enacting the largest cut to nutritional assistance in American history. Those are the top lines. We've been very clear, public, and transparent about it, and the ball is now in the court of the Republicans who claim some big mandate when we know that it does not exist. Thank you.
All right, guys, there you have it. Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader, responding to the budget blueprint that was passed by Republicans earlier today. Speaker Mike Johnson stating that this is a major win for Republicans and said that the American people are now counting on lawmakers. Joining us to discuss this and so much more is Mr. Arif Halaby. He is a ready-go host at AM 870 and CEO of Total Financial Solutions. Mr. Halaby, good to see you, sir. Thank you so much for being patient, and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate being here. And listen, it's always enlightening to hear Mr. Hakeem Jeffries and his ability to dodge and even blame the other side for the same thing they were doing just weeks ago.
And so with that being said, let's further that discussion, because so many folks right now, at least on the left, are literally outraged with regard to this blueprint budget passing and now getting a chance to really voice their concerns. Obviously, this is a major win for President Trump and the Republicans. Your take thus far, sir?
Yeah, we're looking at a few things. One of those is that the budget has to be tightened no matter what happens. And he was still quite generous, as Republicans were, to many programs that most of the left have wanted for years and still have. Part of the challenge that the left does is they take into account cuts based on one thing, and that is future projection of growth. Meaning, if there was a 5% built-in cost of living increase, and then the budget says we're not going to raise that cost of living, the Democrats will assume that that is part of the cost and say, oh, I'm sorry, it's for the children. Every time you turn around, it's going to be for children, old people, nurses. We still like nurses,
Yeah.
and Medicare. Don't forget senior citizens. Oh, it's always the same story. It doesn't matter who's talking on the left. It's always the same.
And speaking of that same story, we know that House Speaker Mike Johnson actually stated that, hey, guys, Medicaid will not be affected. Medicare will not be affected, along with Social Security. Yet, well, the folks on the left say that's not necessarily the case. At what point will let's say the stuff hit the fan and we will all truly know what it will be?
I think the costs that are saved internally with the waste, fraud, and abuse. Look, everybody says waste, fraud, and abuse is what we should stop. Everybody says we should tighten the border with border securities. I want examples from the left. I get it. I'm not going to like everything that anybody does. Even my own wife of 33 years, we have disagreements now and again. It doesn't matter if I agree or disagree with the president. The vision, the direction should be the same. And here's where I think the challenge should come in, and Democrats should understand the difference. Listen to the tweak in messaging. Remember, it used to be millionaires and billionaires, millionaires and billionaires, when 27% of Americans are considered millionaires. You've now just alienated them, and all of a sudden they go, wait a second, you're picking on me? And so now you hear slowly Mr. Sanders, slowly AOC, no longer using the word millionaires, simply because both of them are multimillionaires. It's an interesting approach.
Yet again, the budget blueprint passing. We know that Speaker Mike Johnson stating that, well, the committee will now begin the markup process and will likely get that underway in the near future. Let's move on to somewhat of the other bombshell that took place yesterday. In this case, I'm referring to President Trump pumping the brakes on tariffs. It's a 90-day pause with the exception of the tariffs levied against China. Was the president forced to do this because of how the market was responding?
Oh, I have no question there was some pressure against him from some of the top donors, for sure, and certainly some of the top vocal supporters of his. But most of us don't understand, from 2022 to 2023, 2 full years, the stock market did not increase of any significance. And that means under Mr. Biden, there wasn't just a 3-4 day or even a couple of week hiccup. There was a hiccup, if you will, for 2 years, where people that were retiring had uncertainty, where people that were trying to work and provide for their families had uncertainty. I think just like with any tariffs, you're always going to have winners and losers. And I think really this is the key for most people to understand. Imagine you own a liquor store and you're pretty wealthy and successful, and you have employees that are struggling and they're stealing out the back door. Well, for a while you can deal with that. You're like, listen, I can understand they're taking bread, they're taking some food, maybe they're selling some of the liquor. After a while, you realize that guy who works for you, drives up in a Rolls Royce, and he's doing the same or better than you. And you say, wait a second, why are we letting them steal from our country? The time that they, quote, needed, it's over. All of them are much, much better off than they ever were before. And it's time to change. And I think the tariffs are more than appropriate. And China will come to the table. China needs us way more than we need them, by far.
We know that as lawmakers were really deciphering and trying to figure out what was going to happen with regard to the budget blueprint, President Trump was meeting with his cabinet. We are expecting a press conference, if you will, following that meeting. I'm curious, what do you think the president will have to say specifically surrounding the budget blueprint that has now been passed?
He's going to say it didn't go far enough. I'm sure he's going to say there needs to be more cuts. It's understandable. We have $32 trillion in debt. I think the Republicans are still going to attempt, just like they did under Nancy Pelosi's leadership, to add certain things to the market, to the budget. And there's simply a reason why, because that is how they take home the pork, if you will, back to their constituencies. And they say, see, I built a bridge, I built a park, I renamed a library, I created something so that my family has a legacy based on the leadership of me being in Congress. I think you're going to see pork still added. How much? Not really sure.
All right, let's talk about what happened yesterday, immediately following the announcement of the pause on tariffs. Well, the stock market bounced back in a major way. That's not necessarily the case for today. We've seen it will go up and down, if you will. Critics are stating that, well, you really begin to see what will happen as a result of the president's announcements as of today. What say you to that, sir?
Well, I think the markets have always gone up and down. I think you're going to see a historic move this year as we start tightening down. Now, I'm one that have said and called for a recession, or at least something close to that is required. That means massive layoffs. We're in the economic cycle where you're going to see massive layoffs, but you're also going to see a tightening of the spending, a little bit more accountability. How much more? I'm not sure. The accountability of the billions of dollars. Look at the Los Angeles Homeless Association or Federation, the organization that has stolen billions of dollars, and homeless in Los Angeles is exactly the same of any significance. And then take a look at New York, same thing, billions of dollars over the last decade, and it still hasn't improved. So I think you'll see across the board, organizations and people are trying to come together. I think you'll see the stock market eventually rally, but I also think you're going to see a recession hit as we start telling lifelong government employees, lifelong NGO employees that it's time to get a job and actually produce something for society, not just take.
All right. Yet again, we have been speaking with Mr. Arif Halaby. He is the radio host of 870 on the AM dial and CEO of Total Financial Solutions. Good to see you, sir. Thank you so much for being patient.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate you. No problem. Thanks.
All right, guys, you know the deal. If it's live and it's happening now, we're taking you there. In this case, House Democrats now holding a news conference surrounding Mr. Elon Musk. Let's take a look in.
He has fired tens of thousands of Americans. He has dismantled vital agencies that provide vital services to the American people and people across the world. He has fired firefighters, veterans, teachers. He's partially dismantled the Social Security system and made it so that our seniors are not able to get access to vital programs and benefits which they work their entire lives to earn. He has dismantled vital programs that are life-saving at the Health and Human Services Department, Department of Education, at the VA system. He has been mining our data. I think it is vital to understand that just 2 weeks ago, Elon Musk announced a merger between his private AI company, Twitter, now X, and his departure of the federal government after he has spent days and weeks mining vital data of the American people. We're talking IRS data, Treasury data, Social Security data. What is he doing with this data? We don't know, because neither he or any other member of DOGE have appeared before a public body to answer any questions under oath. And most egregious, which is what we warned of when he took office, is the self-dealing. We know that since he has been in office, he has inked deals to put his own Starlink in place at the FAA. We know that he just inked a multi-billion-dollar contract with the Department of Defense with his private rocket company. We know that he is trying to secure a contract with NOAA in order to take over that satellite program. And we know, or at least we suspect with very strong suspicion, that he is planning to take over AI contracts across the federal government. So, we are putting you on notice, Elon Musk. You are fired. The American people are firing you, and you must clear out and get out of this office. Today, myself and Senator Warren are introducing legislation to ensure that this kind of corrupt abuse and grift and scam artists coming into the federal government through a special government employee can never happen again. So, we must ensure that we have accountability, and with that, I say, Mr. Musk, you're fired, and Mark Takano will share more.
Thank you. Thank you. I thought you were going to say, Mark Takano, you're hired.
You're hired.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark Takano. I am the ranking member of the Veterans Affairs Committee. Let me just start off by saying that Elon Musk is not above the law. He is a billionaire, not a public servant, and certainly not elected by anyone in this country. In his brief stint in the federal government, it seems like he's gone out of his way to hurt the very people we are supposed to be helping. As the ranking member on the Veterans Affairs Committee, I'm especially angry at how he has treated our veterans. These men and women sacrifice for our country, but he sees them as disposable line items on a spreadsheet. For most people, disrespecting our veterans like that would get them fired. For Elon Musk, it just means bigger contracts. But we all know the truth. Elon donated $277 million to Trump's campaign, so the rules don't seem to apply to him. While the law is clear, Musk's 130 days are up on May 30th, and that is only 50 days from now. We are demanding that the White House makes a clear and public statement that they will follow the law. If the Trump administration refuses to fire him, it's not just unethical, it is illegal. Breaking the law is not new to the Trump administration, but I promise you that I and every single one of my colleagues on this stage will not stand for it. It's time to fire Elon Musk. And now I'd like to hand it over to my fellow colleague from California, Luz Rivas.
Thank you. Luz Rivas, Congresswoman from California's 29th District in Los Angeles. Our message today is very clear. Elon Musk needs to go. The law is also very clear. In 50 days, Elon Musk needs to be out of the office and for the good and well-being of our country. That date cannot come soon enough. For 80 days, this unelected, unconfirmed billionaire has held the keys to the Oval Office, and for 80 days, his twisted perception of efficiency has done nothing but cause pain and harm to working families, veterans, senior citizens, and many more. My office has been bombarded with constituent calls, worried that their Medicaid and Social Security benefits will be cut. Over half of the people in my district rely on Medicaid, including 133,000 children and 45,000 seniors. My district has the 9th highest Medicaid enrollment in the whole country. Republicans just approved a proposal to cut millions of Americans' Medicaid benefits, just so they can give Elon Musk and his billionaire friends another tax break. In service to himself, Elon has managed to only increase his company's monetary share of federal government procurement. I guess this is what he and Doge bros mean by efficiency. Elon Musk serves no one but himself and his fellow billionaires, and that's why I stand today with my colleagues to send the message that he needs to go. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Congresswoman. I think next up we have Congressman Robert Garcia.
Thank you. I want to thank, first, of course, our chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, Greg Casar, for bringing us together and for helping really lead our efforts to hold Elon Musk accountable. Robert Garcia from Long Beach, California. You've heard today from a lot of our members about the damage that Elon Musk has done, whether it's been to air traffic controllers, to Social Security, to the Department of Education, attacking veterans. All of this has already disqualified Elon Musk from doing anything in serving our government, and he needs to go today. We're also calling to ensure that he knows that he's on notice, that he only has 50 days left if he wants to continue as a government employee. But I also want to make one thing really clear. It's been also Elon Musk that has been partnering with Donald Trump in weaponizing the Department of Justice. Now, the Department of Justice, the appointed U.S. attorney here at Martin, have gone after people and continue to attack individuals that are also speaking out, using their First Amendment rights to protest against Elon Musk's illegal actions and unconstitutional actions across the country. Now, I know that personally, because I personally attacked Elon Musk, Donald Trump sent the Department of Justice against me to investigate me, to try to intimidate me and others, of which he was not successful in doing. But it also has been other members of the Progressive Caucus as well. Elon Musk sent and worked with Pam Bondi, our Attorney General, to attack other members like Jasmine Crockett and others. And probably most chilling has been Elon Musk and his ability to get the DOJ, to get the Attorney General, to go after and intimidate protesters who are protesting 100% within their rights in front of Tesla dealerships or against his businesses. People out in the community in the country have a right to stand up and not support companies led by Elon Musk. Elon Musk, in turn, sends the Department of Justice against protesters, against organizers, and against members of Congress. That is not right. It is unethical. It is unconstitutional. And Elon Musk has no business serving the government, the president, and all he does is continue to damage himself and damage our country. Elon Musk must be fired today. And with that, I'm going to introduce our next speaker from Los Angeles, Brad Sherman.
Hello, I'm Brad Sherman from California's best named city, Sherman Oaks. Our Constitution is clear in Article 2, Section 2, that the officers of the federal government need Senate confirmation. That's not just the cabinet officers, that's 2 or 3 steps below the cabinet officers. There's one exception, a man who's more powerful than any of the cabinet officers, Elon Musk. They have used this special government employee ruse. I think it's unconstitutional and illegal, but it ends on May 30th. My criticisms of Mr. Musk focus on my two committees. From Foreign Affairs, I've learned that 1.6 million people are going to die without American health and food aid. 500,000 of those will die due to lack of vaccines. And when HIV infects someone on another continent, that's one more chance for the disease to mutate and come back here in a form we cannot deal with. But let's not talk about big numbers. Let's talk about Peter Donde, 10-year-old boy, infected with HIV from his mother at childbirth, an orphan. He was cut off from his antivirals. He died in February, and his blood is on the hands of Elon Musk, whose response is, oops, made a mistake. From a financial services standpoint, I'm concerned that a man who is under investigation from the SEC would arrange for the firing, dismissals, early retirement, and buyouts of many hundreds of SEC investigators. But I particularly want to focus on something you may not have focused on. This man says he was serving without compensation, but he has actually received an undisclosed portion of $37 billion. Now, everybody else in government, not only us, but even our aides, have to file one of these financial disclosure statements. But what we don't have is one from Elon. So what happened? The day Trump was elected, Elon Musk knew he'd be heading this organization. 1 week later, the whole world found out that it would be called Doge. Weird name. What's with that? Dogecoin was bid up $37 billion by those who knew that it would get this big boost from the unusual name in the 1 week between the election and the announcement of the name. Now, true, Bitcoin also went up at the same time, but Dogecoin went up 6 times as fast. And until we get a disclosure statement from Musk, we will not know what portion of that $37 billion went to him from buying Doge on the day after the election and selling, and now it's gone down again, selling it the day of the announcement. So I can't imagine a worse person to have involved in making our national policy, except, of course, the president. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Sherman. Close this out, Congressman Gabe Amon.
Thank you to my colleague, Representative Kassar, who has organized this very press conference to illuminate this important date and deadline. I'm Gabe Amo. I represent Rhode Island's 1st Congressional District. I've worked for 2 presidents and 2 presidencies at the White House. And I have worked with many special government employees. And I can say by far, there's been no worse special government employee than Elon Musk. And we've seen this function deployed to help in humanitarian crises like the Operations Allies Welcome, or help reboot healthcare.gov, or do life-saving work in public health emergencies. What we've seen is Elon Musk creating emergencies for American families who will face devastation if our colleagues, our Republican colleagues, go forward with horrific cuts to Medicaid. We've seen an emergency created with the erosion of Social Security being able to do its basic functions, long wait times, closures of offices. We've seen an emergency created for our environment with their cutting of NOAA, the privatization of the National Weather Service as an aspiration, only so Elon Musk can make more money, more billions for the richest man in the world. So look, I think the proper HR function would be immediate termination, but we've got May 30th. We've got 50 days. This special government employee has been special in all the wrong ways, killing our economy, partnering with Donald Trump to do the worst to the people who need our help the most. And so I look forward to that day. And if for some reason, and you know there are lots of reasons, that number in the billions, we don't see action from the Trump administration to terminate Elon, when his tenure is up, we will act. We will act, we will put on public pressure. We will act in every form possible because he has got to go. He has been bad for America while only being good for himself, his bank account, and his billionaire buddies. So I am hopeful that with this team, with Democrats in the House, that we will make our voices heard to ensure that February 30th is the day where he is walking out with a box in his hand to leave the Eisenhower Executive Office building to never, ever return. And with that, I'll turn it back to Greg.
Thank you. In case anybody in the press thinks that we can't do hard things, you just saw a press conference of 7 members of Congress in 15 minutes. So I don't know if y'all have seen that before, but the message is very succinct and very clear. We don't expect that Trump and Musk will follow the law because they want to. We have to make sure that they follow the law. So we are putting Trump and Musk on notice. If you break the law and try to stay in power, we will support every legal, political, and public pressure tactic available to us to enforce the law. And Americans are already fed up with Elon Musk. He's got 50 days. And we're ready to take your questions. I think I have to taking CNN first because I think they're sponsoring the room. Are they here? Is that you? No. Okay, if not, go ahead.
Okay. So there's another side of Elon Musk, and of course that's how much money he's spending in elections. Last week we all saw in Wisconsin, or maybe whenever that was, that he spent $20 million and the candidate he supported did not win. What are your takeaways from the influence and the power of Elon Musk when it comes electorally from that race or just generally?
They think they can win elections with unlimited money. But in Wisconsin, we showed that organized people can beat big money. And in fact, we have turned what Elon Musk thought was his greatest strength, having unlimited cash, into his greatest weakness. Every dollar that Elon Musk started spending in that election started bringing him down because the American people, whether you are an independent, conservative, progressive, whatever you are, don't think that the richest man on earth should be able to buy politicians for himself in order to funnel money to himself and to other billionaires. And I think that that is the kind of message that the Democratic Party needs in order to win back the trust of working class voters, not just to win back the House, but actually to be the kind of party that this country needs in this moment. So, go ahead. And I'm happy to pass it along to others here as well.
Yeah. But I was just going to follow up. Is there a level of reassurance post-Wisconsin compared to previous Wisconsin that perhaps, like what you said, that it might not be as effective?
Yeah, I mean, there were articles leading up to the Wisconsin race of pundits out there saying, well, maybe going after the richest man on earth isn't a good idea. But I think the people beat the pundits in that argument, where I think the overwhelming number of people said, no, we don't want the richest man on earth controlling our government, making us work longer hours for less pay and taking our taxpayer money for himself. That's attacking the richest man on earth, attacking the American people and trying to take over our government is deeply wrong. People know that in their gut, and this is exactly the kind of fight that I think Democrats need to pick.
I just want to say
Mark and Melanie.
Yeah. So it was an important test that was passed, that the people prevailed over a billionaire's obscene attempt to buy an election, literally buy votes. But it's going to take vigilance from growing engagement of more and more people. I think people are beginning to tune in, but we're facing executive orders from Donald Trump to suppress votes and to require ridiculous ID requirements and so look, the battle against the billionaire is just the beginning, but it's reassuring to know that we can beat a billionaire. But we've got all sorts of other things that we've got to confront, and the people, I'm encouraged, are going to wake up and pay more attention.
There's a lot of lessons to take from Wisconsin, but I think one of the primary lessons is that not only is Elon Musk's agenda deeply unpopular, and he's one of the most unpopular political figures in modern history, he's toxic to the Republican brand. And I think that's what was revealed by the Wisconsin race, and that American democracy is not for sale. And you've seen in the days after the Wisconsin race that Republicans themselves, whether they're members of Congress, people who are in Trump's inner circle, and people who are in the constellation of the GOP world, have been saying Musk has got to go because he is toxic to the president and to the GOP brand. Why is he toxic? Because of all of the things that we've laid out, the ways in which he's disrupted the economy, the ways in which he's carelessly and recklessly fired thousands of people, the ways in which he's inflicted harm on people across the world, and the ways in which he has literally tried to buy elections. And the American people are fed up with it, and that's why they want him to go as well.
My whole life, I've been working to try to get Democrats to turn out to vote, particularly in special elections. I want to thank Elon Musk. He did a better job at it than I ever did.
Yeah, people were always suspicious the billionaires were running the government behind the curtain, but now Elon Musk is out there bragging about it in public, and I think that's been really devastating to the brand. Brian?
Can you speak a little bit more to what the, as you referenced, legal legislative avenues are for you all to pursue on this area if Musk is still there?
I think you'll be hearing about those as we get closer to the day, but we are asking the president to make clear by May Day, by May 1st, whether he's going to follow the law or try to buck the law. But there are many options at our disposal, but I think the next 50 days, Democrats should be making the case to the public that public pressure can indeed result in the firing of Elon Musk.
You guys have all been vocal that your constituents have reached out, but Musk is kind of steamrolling and some of the legal efforts haven't been successful. So, with these pressure points, what do you do if he does steamroll through them again? And, on May 30th, he just keeps going.
Well, I'll make clear again, there are many options in the courts available to fire Elon Musk. There are legislative options available for us to fire Elon Musk. And most importantly, I think public pressure will do the trick to make sure we fire Elon Musk. He has 50 days to resign under the law, or else even more of those legal and legislative options would be on the table. Okay, go ahead.
I do want to push back a little bit on the narrative that we've been unsuccessful in the courts. There are now over 170 court cases that have been filed against the administration for egregious breaches of the law. And in almost nearly every case where a federal judge has ruled on the case, on the merits of the case itself, we have won. The American people and the Constitution has won. In a number of cases, there have been outcomes, including some of the recent Supreme Court decisions, that question jurisdictional questions, but not the merits of the case itself. It is very clear that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are breaking the law. And the law is very clear on the service of an SGE. And if he tries to stay beyond his allocated time, their courts will be involved. And so we will pursue legal avenues, absolutely.
All right, there you have it. House Democrats seeking the removal of Mr. Elon Musk, stating that he must go by the end of May. We're going to take you now live to the White House, where President Trump is holding a cabinet meeting, this being the first cabinet meeting after backing down on most of his severe levies against dozens of trading partners. Let's take a peek in.
Did a lot of inflation, very little inflation. Energy costs are down. Interest rates are probably down. They scatter, but they're probably down. Prescription drug prices are even to down. We're doing very well. It's been amazing. We had a big day yesterday. There'll always be transition difficulty, but we had in history, it was the biggest day in history, the markets. So we're very, very happy with the way the country's running. We're trying to get the world to treat us fairly. This is something that should have been done 25 years ago, and it wasn't. Should have been done 40 years ago, and it wasn't. But no president was willing to take it on, but you had to. It's not sustainable. It wasn't sustainable. And as you know, without a lot of money being added, which is a lot of money that we could add, the country is making approximately $2 billion a day And when you think of it, we've never done that before, never come close to it. And the number is probably $3.5 billion a day. And that makes us a very strong country. But we have Scott here and Howard and some of the people that are working on deals, and the biggest problem they have is they don't have enough time in the day. Everybody wants to come and make a deal, and we're working with a lot of different countries, and it's all going to work out very well. I think it's going to work out really very well, but we're in good shape. There's no inflation. There's very little inflation, and I went 4 years without inflation, and I took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China and others, taxes in China. But we took in hundreds of billions of dollars a year from China, and we had no inflation, essentially. So we think we're in very good shape. We think we're doing very well. Again, there'll be a transition cost and transition problems, but in the end, it's going to be a beautiful thing. We're doing again what we should have done many years ago. We let it get out of control, and we allowed some countries to get very big and very rich at our expense, and can't let that happen. It's not a sustainable formula. So I wanted to just thank everybody at the table, and maybe I'll go around and ask some of you a little short couple of answers. Pete just got back from Panama, and he's been all over the place, and you want to give us a little report on that and whatever else you might have to say. Everyone at this table is doing an incredible job, by the way, I have to say. Incredible. And the relationships it's like they're friends. They're really, the relationships are very strong, really good and really strong. And these meetings are very good. And I think, I don't believe there's any other president that allowed the press to come into a meeting such as this. These are very sacred meetings. These are very private meetings, but we have nothing to hide. And I think it's good. I think it's a good, we want to be, a word you like to use, Jeff, is transparent. So we want to be transparent, and we'll do that by starting with Pete. Go ahead, Pete.
Yes, Mr. President, we just got back from Panama last night. We were at the Panama Canal with our Southcom commander ships, F-18s, troops, and signed a couple of historic deals. One which is with the Panama Canal Authority, a framework for U.S. vessels, first and free through the Panama Canal. Right. And then also a memorandum of understanding with their security minister for the presence of U.S. troops. Fort Sherman is an old U.S. base there, as well as a naval station and air station jointly with Panama to secure the Panama Canal from Chinese influence. That's something you said, we're taking back the canal. China's had too much influence. Obama and others let them creep in. We, along with Panama, are pushing them out, sir. And so we had a very successful trip there. President Molino sends his regards, very complimentary of the U.S. as he's a great ally, and I think they want the Communist Chinese out, and with our troops there partnering with their forces, we've got a chance to push them all the way out, sir.
We've moved a lot of troops to Panama and filled up some areas that we used to have, and we didn't have any longer, but we have them now, and I think it's in very good control, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Pete. Very good. Howard?
So, so we've have so many countries to talk to. It is, it's incredible. I think Scott and I'm not sure we could ever have enough time in the day to talk to all these countries because they want to talk and they want to talk now, and they have come with offers that they never, ever would have come with, but for the moves that the president has made. Demanding that people treat the United States with respect. We're getting the respect we deserve now, and I think you're going to see historic deals, one after the other. And then I'm very excited that within a week and a half, we're going to start with the gold card, and the Trump card is coming out, and we're very excited about that, and that's coming soon. So very excited.
Good. Thank you very much. Good job. Linda?
Well, on a couple of fronts, we have been addressing the issue of anti-Semitism on campuses. There's been some grant funding and contract funding that we've reviewed, and some canceled and some we've put on hold, waiting for that while we do an investigation. On the other side of what my responsibilities are, and having education go back to the states. We're meeting and talking with governors. I was with, this week, all 50 commissioners of education around the country, and because we also want to provide them with tools and best practices as education does move back to the states. Making great progress, great response from the states, and very positive.
And what about colleges? You're holding back $400 million from Columbia, $8 billion from Harvard. Can you imagine the money we pay Harvard? They have a $60 billion fund, and we're giving them $8 billion, and we're trying to figure that out. And then they hire de Blasio, the worst mayor in the history of New York, and they hire the woman from Chicago who was a disaster, total disaster, and they pay them massive salaries, and they're supposed to be teaching you government. That's not Harvard. That's not Harvard the way it used to be. So, do you have anything to say about that? The dollars you're holding back from quite a few universities that were not behaving.
Yeah, and the other, there's some Princeton, Cornell, others that are coming in, and actually getting calls now from the presidents of the universities who really do want to come in and sit down and have discussions. And so we're investigating them, but in the meantime, we're holding back the grant and the fund money.
Okay. Great job. Thank you.
Very thankful for the House voting for the President's budget resolution along with the Senate bill. Made a ton of progress this week in working with members to ensure that a desire for flexibility in the Senate was not misconstrued as a desire not to slow and do spending reforms. And so we're very thankful for that. And now we can get after writing that bill, getting the President as big a package of his agenda to his desk. So very good week.
Good. That's right. We just got the House vote, and now we're well on our way to getting, as we call it, the great big beautiful bill. It's a beauty. There's never been a bill like this one. We're trying to get it all into one beautiful bill. It's tax cuts, regulation cuts, and many other things. The border, a lot of money for the border. Well, you're doing a fantastic job. So, but we just got a report that we, as you know, you knew before us. Were you surprised we got the vote? We got the vote, and we're happy to get the vote. So I think we're going to be in very good shape. Okay, please.
Mr. President, last year the Chinese received 1,700 orders for new ships. American shipyards received 5. Under your leadership, like so many other industries, we are going to revitalize and make shipbuilding and maritime great again with these blue-collar jobs. These are the cranes, the ports, opportunity zones, and drive that investment back in. And we have, under that executive order, and also one to streamline foreign military sales for people that want to buy our equipment, and of course acquisition reform, all just this week under your leadership, Mr. President.
So we're going to be rebuilding our shipbuilding business. We may order, would have to go to Congress for this, but we may buy some ships from other countries that we're close to and that do great jobs with ships, but we're going to start the process of rebuilding. We don't really essentially build ships anymore, which is ridiculous. It's going to be a very big business for us in the not too distant future, but in the meantime, we have countries that do very well at building ships, and we'll be dealing with those countries, and we may be ordering top-of-the-line ships from those countries, and within a fairly short period of time, we'll be building our own ships. So we'll probably have to go to Congress for that, but we're not going to have a problem. Susie, thank you very much for the job you've done. Go ahead, please.
I just wanted to make sure you know that this cabinet, I think, pretty uniquely collaborates and cooperates and works together to accomplish all that you've asked them to do, and I think they deserve a lot of credit for that.
True. You're doing a great job. The chief of staff, doing a great job. Lee, go ahead.
Mr. President, the Biden EPA was strangulating the economy. The Trump EPA understands it's not a binary choice. We can protect the environment and grow the economy. Working with Doge and Elon Musk, we've now canceled $22 billion worth of grants, and we have launched what is the largest deregulatory action in the history of the country, just in one agency. That's how much of a mess the Biden EPA left us. it is going to end up reducing the cost of living. It's going to create jobs. It's going to make it easier to purchase a car. It'll be easier to heat your home. We're proud of this effort. The effort that we have is fulfilling the mandate that you earned from the American public. Clean air, land, and water for all Americans, unleashing energy dominance, permitting reform, advancing cooperative federalism, making America the AI capital of the world, and bringing back American auto jobs. When you called me that day asking for me to take this position, I was honored. And you were very specific and clear in what you wanted us to accomplish. We understand our mission, and at the Trump EPA, we're going to make you proud.
Great job. You're doing a great job. And you have a lot of applications for approvals for power plants, which are going to really power the regular plants, and they're going to be right next to each other because we can't rely on our grid. It's old and it's tired, and it's, you know, very subject to being attacked, whether by rain or by bombs or by anything else. And we're letting people build their own power plants, and these are a lot of them being built with the AI and beyond the AI chips, and we're letting them build their own power, and never been done before. And we're going to get it done quickly and approved quickly as part of a plant. They'll have a sort of be their own power company, and it's very exciting. They couldn't believe it when I told them that. I said, we're going to get you the approvals very fast as part of your regular plant. You're going to build electric producing plants, and it's very exciting. And they're able to do it very quickly and very well, and you made it possible. Thank you. You have a lot of applications for some of the biggest plants that have ever been built in the world. These are serious plants, aren't they? Huh?
Approved. We are open for business. Working with Secretary Burgum, Secretary Wright, we are going to make you proud.
Sean?
First off, Mr. President, it's Brooke's birthday today, so she keeps getting younger, so happy birthday to Brooke.
Thank you.
I want to thank you as well for the shipbuilding at EO. Again, to build ships, we also need mariners to sail those ships. I was just up at Kings Point for the Merchant Marine Academy a couple days ago, and we have some of the greatest young men and women who are learning how to be mechanical engineers, to rebuild and fix the engines on those ships, but also how to sail ships. I would tell you that over the past decades, this academy has become, it needs some love. It's been a little bit dilapidated. We have to invest in sailors, and I appreciate you taking the initiative. To be a global power, we have to build ships and have sailors to sail those ships. These are the very people that help Pete should we come into points of crisis to support the military. So thank you for that. Number two, the last administration announced 3,200 projects, big, beautiful roads and bridges. Most of them are good. But they announced them, they didn't sign a grant agreement. 3,200, so the money doesn't go out the door to build the infrastructure in the country. And it's fun to do an announcement. It's actually the harder work to put together these grant agreements. So we're doing the work right now at DOT to get these grant agreements done and build the projects. Most of them are good. And they also put in all of this green and social justice requirements on roads and bridges. We're pulling all that out and putting the money toward the infrastructure, not the social movement from the last administration.
Good steel, right, as opposed to green paper mache. Good, thanks. Great job.
Sir, first, we are, I would say, more than friends. We've all become family, and I think that what you have assembled in your vision is a turning point and an inflection point in American history. And so just being a part of that is the greatest honor. So thank you for that. And again, just the relationships here and the honor and respect we have for each other is a reflection of you and your leadership. So I just wanted to say that first. The second thing I want to say is that on behalf of the farmers and ranchers, food security is national security. We have to be able to feed ourselves. And your idea of using tariffs along with deregulation and tax cuts, but your idea of using tariffs to ensure that we are putting forward and putting America first. No one understands that better than our farmers and our ranchers. But having said that, emerging from 4 years of Biden with a 30% increase in inputs for our farmers and ranchers, with an almost $50 billion trade deficit. When we left the first time, it was zero, meaning that they are hurting. So the period of uncertainty we're in, they know that your vision will move us into an age of prosperity for all Americans, but for my people, for the farmers and ranchers, unlike any they have seen before. And I think they are really, really excited and so grateful for your leadership. But also, you have never failed to say that you have the backs of our farmers and our ranchers. It was the first phone call that I had after I was voted with the Senate, and that message just resonates with almost an 85% support of you in the last election. They're with you. Interestingly, the biggest budget driver at the United States Department of Agriculture is not farming and ranching or agriculture, it's food stamps. And so as we emerge and embark, Secretary Kennedy and I, on your vision of making America healthy again, a massive part of that is realigning and reworking our food stamp program so that it better serves those who need it. And yeah, to the point of getting the transgender, DEI, Green New Deal out of the USDA and realigning is really important. So
It's out of the
thank
military,
you.
right?
Yes, sir.
Is it 100% out, would you say?
99.9, sir. We're going to get that last point
Get the
one out.
rest of it out. We've got a much different military, I will tell you. Thanks very much. Good job. And eggs are down.
Eggs are
big,
down.
right?
Yes,
Big.
yes, sir. Wholesale prices. Retail will come. Easter is the Super Bowl for eggs. So, you know, there may be a little fluctuation, but no, we feel really good about it. Thank you.
That's what I hear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. I'd echo what Howard said on the trade queue, that we've got over 75 countries that want to come in. So it'll be Treasury, Commerce, Jameson at USTR, and we're putting a process in place. And as you said, you're going to be part of the negotiations too, because I've had these countries call me up and the Secretary Bessent, we're happy you're going to be negotiating. I said, well, President Trump's going to be involved too. So bring your best deal. On the budget, it's moving quickly in the House and the Senate, thanks to your leadership. We're also going to have debt ceiling in there, so we're going to get an increase in the debt ceiling. And that will be the done and dusted for
part of the bill that we just got to vote on today.
Part of the bill. It'll be done and dusted for 2 years. We won't have to worry about that. And then I gave a speech yesterday to 1,400 small and community bankers, and they were so happy to hear from your administration. And I told them Wall Street's done great for the past 4 years, 10 years, 20 years. It can continue doing great, but it's Main Street's turn now, and it's those small bankers through deregulation, through emphasis on Main Street, your Main Street agenda, bringing back jobs, that is going to power the smaller communities. And then finally, the bond auction went very well yesterday. We had a lot of foreigners show up as the support, showing that the U.S. is still the best place to invest. The inflation report, as you said, was quite good, and energy prices are down more than 20% since January 20th.
Amazing.
That's great. Very good. Good numbers.
Great number.
Thank you. Pam?
President, we've had some great wins in the last few days. That you were overwhelmingly elected by the biggest majority. The U.S. Americans want you to be president because of your agenda, and the courts are ruling that you have the authority to determine how the money of this country will be spent. That's what the American citizens wanted, and that's what they're getting. An example of that Friday was the Department of Education, that you can determine how the money will be spent. No more DEI, and that impacts every agency across the board. On the civil side, again, NLRB. We had a big win in the Supreme Court there. OPM, a big win there, but also 16,000 workers there. But also on the criminal side, the Alien Enemies Act, we are winning there. And you know, your directive to me was to keep America safe, and that's what we're doing. Whether it's the alien enemies, all of these gangs, and they are enemies of our country. They are terrorists, they are organized crime, they have come here, they are extremely organized, they are spread throughout our country, and they are creating terror. And no more under your directive. And that is stopped. Yesterday in South Florida, we charged 11 defendants with $500 million of pure cocaine coming into our country to kill our kids. They were caught. They will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. These gang members are going back to where they came, or they're going to an El Salvador prison at your directive. And you know, you also gave us a directive to prosecute the people who are going after Tesla to the fullest extent of the law, some of the greatest police work I've seen. We've made 4 arrests. There will be no negotiations at your directive. They're all looking at 20 years in prison, and within the next 24 hours, you're going to be seeing another huge arrest on a Tesla dealership, President, and that person will be looking at least 20 years in prison with no negotiations.
That's great. That's great. That will stop it. Cold.
Domestic terrorism.
Thanks. Doing a great job, too. Thank you very much. Gloria, please.
Mr. President, accountability matters. That's what we're recognizing. With our partners at the Department of Labor for Government Efficiency, just a few weeks ago, we realized there's about $4.4 billion in COVID funds that were not used, that the state coffers were just holding on to. Out of that, we've returned $1.4 billion back to the state treasury, so essentially to the American people, and we'll go back and claw the rest of those billions of dollars back. And on the heels of that, late last night, we're understanding unemployment insurance fraud. That trust needs to be whole for the American people. When we need it for who deserves it. That's not what we're seeing. And the numbers that we saw last night, again, exposed by our partners at DOJ, at the Department of Labor. Since 2020, over $400 million of payments have gone out already. And when you hear these numbers, apparently in the United States, we have over almost 25,000 people who are over 115 years old who are collecting $59 million that we have sent out to people. Talk about fraudulent behavior. Mr. President, 28,000 people between 1 and 5 years old have collected fraudulent payments at the tune of $254 million has gone out. And lastly, 10,000 people who have not been born yet, 15 years into the future, $69 million, and they haven't even been born yet. In one case, they will be born 129 years from now. The United States government sent them $41,000, and they're not born yet. So, under the Department of Labor, those are the things that we're uncovering. I couldn't be more honored to tell the American people that we're bringing back their dollars and we're saving them and returning them to the United States Treasury. Also, jobs numbers. Last Friday, 228,000 new jobs were reported. That is good for the American people. That is my primary job, is to grow that workforce under your leadership. So we've kicked off the America at Work tour, and we'll be visiting all 50 states, and I'll be working with my colleagues here to do just that. So thank you, Mr. President. We're going to grow this economy. We're going to keep our focus on the American worker.
So you're finding tremendous fraud, though. Those numbers are really bad when you're
unheard of.
Over 115 years old. And I think you had mentioned the oldest person in our country is 114 years old. That's pretty good.
A woman living in Pennsylvania, but apparently there's 24,000 more of them that are 115 or older. That
I hope you hear that. So we have 24,000 older than the oldest person.
Definitely did.
That's terrible. And what are we doing about that? How do we get that money back?
Yeah, so we're working with our IGs to do the further investigation. The House and Senate, we had a 5-year statute of limitations. We've got an extension on that, another 5 years. And so the goal, in my opinion, we should never have a statute of limitations to return the American dollars back to the Treasury when there's fraud. But at this point, we will continue to work hard and double down and return those dollars to the Treasury.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great job. Christy?
Well, Mr. President, thank you for your leadership at the border. For the second month in a row, you have broken the record in the history of the nation for the lowest number of encounters at the border, which is absolutely remarkable. You have said that America's laws matter and that they'll be enforced, and we're hard at work now to get people to go back home that are here illegally. So the Alien Registration Act has been in place long enough now that those individuals that are here illegally, if they haven't registered, then they can be charged criminally, and they can face fines up to $1,000 a day and face deportation if they don't go home, and they'll never get the chance to come back to America. So we're encouraging people to use the CBP Home app to register, and we're working on the resources and funding to buy them a plane ticket to send them home. I went to El Salvador, Colombia, and Mexico, and those countries and others are thinking about setting up programs to support these individuals when they get back to their countries. So when they get there, they'll have housing and food assistance, and so making sure that these folks have the opportunity to go home so that they can get the chance to come back to America is important. And
so it's a very big self-deport operation that we're starting.
thousands of people have already self-deported. Well, we're just going to, when you have 21 million people that need to go home because they're here breaking our laws, then we need to facilitate that. And I've been working with the governors a lot lately on several different issues. One of them has been on FEMA for recommendations on how to do exactly what you've directed us to do. And then also I sent a letter and communicated with them that they need to be setting up a SCIF. Some of our governors don't have secure facilities to have national security issues. I think one of the jobs Homeland Security has is to give communication down to states, to local cities and communities. And so recommending they get a SCIF, they have secure comms with them at all times or nearby so that they can have national security conversations, and then to have somebody in their office designated that is their communications person. A lot of them have emergency management officers, but they don't necessarily have somebody designated when it comes to a national security issue that we may need to communicate with them on. And I think American people need to know that Real ID will be required to travel on May 7th. So those governors have been notified to communicate that at home. We don't want anybody to get delayed and not be able to travel when they get to an airport. And this will also help us bring integrity back to all of our IDs and how they're used for issuing driver's licenses. And governors know how I feel about making sure their driver's licensing system has integrity, because a lot of people use their driver's license to vote. And the backbone of our country and the foundation is election integrity. So we're giving all those directions to our governors and communicating that so they can lead on it as well.
And we're going to work with people so that if they go out in a nice way and go back to their country, we're going to work with them right from the beginning on trying to get them back in legally. Is that right?
A chance to come back.
So it gives you a real incentive. Otherwise, they never come back. They'll never be allowed once a certain period of time goes by, which is probably going to be 60 days. We're also going to work with farmers that if they have strong recommendations for their farms for certain people, we're going to let them stay in for a while and work with the farmers and then come back and go through a process, a legal process. But we have to take care of our farmers and hotels and various places where they need the people. And we're going to be working with you very carefully on that. So a farmer will come in with a letter concerning certain people saying they're great, they're working hard. We're going to slow it down a little bit for them, and then we're going to ultimately bring them back. They'll go out, they're going to come back as legal workers. Okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Which I think will be I think it's very important to do. Okay, thank you very much. Great job. Jameson, I watched you testify for the last
he did
couple of days. You were on every night at 3 o'clock in the morning. And you did great. You were fantastic. Thank you very much.
It's just what I like to do for fun, sir. You've been keeping us very busy. Last week, you started a reordering of international trade, something that hasn't happened for 80 years, something that should have happened decades ago. And you know that. You've known that for a long time. That's why you have us all working on this. You came into an emergency situation where President Biden left us with a $1.2 trillion trade deficit. It's the largest of any country in human history, the largest. So you declared an emergency, you took action.
You said the largest in history, right?
In history.
There's never been anything like what he left us. He left us a mess. His whole administration was a mess. So go ahead.
So you declared an emergency, you imposed a trade action, so now you have a tariff on the world, it promotes U.S. manufacturing, it protects U.S. workers, And you've also given room for negotiation during this time so we can open export markets for our farmers and other producers and American workers. And this is why the unions vote for you. This is why the workers vote for you. This is why the families want you to be the president, because you're standing up for American workers and American communities. We've had countries come in over the past couple of weeks that represent more than half of global domestic GDP, more than half. That's who's coming in to talk to you and to your advisors about how to have reciprocal trade, how to have fair trade. Would have happened without you.
Thank you very much. Great job. Hello, Elon.
Well, thanks to your fantastic leadership, this amazing cabinet, and the very talented Doge team, I'm excited to announce that we anticipate savings in FY26 from reduction of waste and fraud by $150 billion. And I mean, and some of it is just absurd, like people getting unemployment insurance who haven't been born yet. I mean, I think anyone can appreciate whether, I mean, come on. That's just crazy. You know, some of these things, people ask me, like, well, how are you going to find waste and fraud in the government? I'm like, well, actually just go in any direction. That's how you find it. It's very common. it's, as the military would say, target-rich environment. So I think we're doing a lot of good in excellent collaboration with the cabinet to achieve these savings, and it will actually result in better services for the American people, and that we're going to be spending their tax dollars in a way that is sensible and fair and good.
And your people are fantastic. In fact, hopefully they'll stay around for the long haul. We'd like to keep as many as we can. They're great, smart, sharp, right? Finding things that nobody would have thought of. Very computer savvy.
Yes. We're working with hard to get the Trump Gold Card operational, hopefully in the next week or so.
That'll be very exciting. It's
really exciting.
It's a pathway to citizenship into the United States.
It's a big deal.
Yep, it's a big deal. Thank you very much. Great job you're doing.
Thank you, sir. Thanks to your leadership and setting the mandate of transparency and accountability across the U.S. government. I'm bringing that transparency and accountability to the intelligence community, first and foremost, to make sure that you and your cabinet have that real-time, relevant, apolitical, objective intelligence to best inform, whether it's negotiations for peace, negotiations around tariffs, the great work that you are leading around the cabinet today. Secondly, working with Department of Homeland Security and the FBI to increase our information sharing to achieve your goal of countering the narcotic trafficking and our ability to go after cartels now designated as foreign terrorists. I met with the National Sheriff's Association this week, being able to work to make sure that the information that they are getting on the ground, that local law enforcement is getting on the ground, is being fed back up through to our National Counterterrorism Center, and that we have all of the federal agencies, state and local law enforcement all on the same page as we are working to make our country safe again. And lastly, sir, as you know, declassification and rooting out weaponization and politicization of the intelligence community is a huge priority. You know more than anyone else the very dangerous and negative consequences of that. I've got a long list of things that we're investigating. We have the best of the best going after this. Election integrity being one of them. We have evidence of how these electronic voting systems have been vulnerable to hackers for a very long time and vulnerable to exploitation to manipulate the results of the votes being cast, which further drives forward your mandate to bring about paper ballots across the country so that voters can have faith in the integrity of our elections. And lastly, we've been scanning. I've had over 100 people working around the clock to scan the paper around RFK, Senator Robert F. Kennedy's assassination, as well as Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination. These have been sitting in boxes in storage for decades. They have never been scanned or seen before. We'll have those ready to release here within the next few days.
That's great. Bobby, how do you feel about that? That's hitting,
I'm very gratified to hear.
That's hitting close to home, isn't it? When you think, I'm thinking about Bobby when that statement's made.
I'm very grateful to you, Mr. President.
Good. And you'll let Bobby see some of this because, it's very personal stuff. but it's time.
I've asked him, and his response is, put it out. The world needs to know the truth.
And his uncle that's been out, and anything that hasn't been out, they can go to your offices and see, right?
Everything that we have within our possession, it's either online or it's physically at the National Archives and Records Agency. We also have hunters going out, Mr. President, and looking in the storage lockers at FBI and CIA and other agencies, specifically to find if there is anything else that has not been reported. We're actively going out and trying to search out the truth.
Okay. Yeah, we want to get it all out.
Yes.
100%. Good. Thank you very much. Good job, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. President, on behalf of America's manufacturers, I want to thank you for standing up to the Chinese Communist Party and fighting for our main streets, for our workers, and for those that make things in America. I'm out on a Made in America manufacturing tour, and as I go across the country, people are grateful to have a president who's not just fighting on the tariffs fronts, but to get inflation down, to create jobs. After Biden destroyed 110,000 manufacturing jobs in just his last year, you've already brought back thousands and thousands of manufacturing jobs. So the American worker is grateful. Main Street is grateful for you. And at the agency level, we're making sure that manufacturers have access to the capital they need, but we can't do that if we're not fighting fraud. So we've modified our loan applications to have citizenship verification, to make sure we have birth dates, common sense principles around lending that the Biden administration had waived. They waived $450 million of fees in 1 year. We're restoring that for the American taxpayer. And the American taxpayer, as tax day approaches, April 15th, they need to know that this cabinet, this administration, and thank you Elon Musk and Doge for fighting for the American taxpayer to make sure that their hard-earned dollars are well spent, that they have a return on investment for this country, and that we're fighting for them just as you are every single day. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, we are working at HHS to advance your agenda to make America healthy again. I'm working with Lee Zeldin to reassess the fluoride rules based upon the August release by the National Toxicity Program of new science that shows a direct inverse correlation between exposure to fluoride and IQ loss, particularly in children. Lee and I were in Utah this week, to announce that Utah became the first state in the country to ban supplemental fluoride. I'm working with Brooke on, and governors now in 24 states who are advancing MAHA legislation to get soda pops off of the food stamp program, off the SNAP program. We've launched Operation Stork Speed to get the bad chemicals out of baby formula. We're working with governors across the country to get good food into the school lunch programs and to get rid of food chemical dyes and other bad chemicals that are in our food. We've shown now that this directly affects academic performance, violence in the schools, and mental health, as well as physical health. We are working with governors across the country to get cell-to-cell or bell-to-bell legislation to restrict the use of cell phones in schools, which again dramatically impacts academic performance. Today we announced a dramatic reduction in animal testing at NIH and FDA. We're going to switch over to AI, which we've now found is much more precise in identifying the impacts of toxics in various products. We're working with Elon, who's done an incredible job to eliminate the redundancies and to streamline operations at all the health agencies and to recalibrate our trajectory to your agenda of making America healthy again. And finally, the CDC has done an amazing job at getting the measles outbreak under control. We have about 680 cases now in 22 states, compared to the same outbreak in Europe, which is 127,000 cases and 37 deaths. Our numbers in this country have now plateaued. And I want to thank CDC for that. And we're trying to refocus the press. We've had 3 measles deaths in this country over 20 years. And we're trying to refocus the press to get them to pay attention to the chronic disease epidemic as you've asked us to. We have now 38% of American youth are pre-diabetic. This was unknown 30 years ago. Every child that becomes diabetic, there should be a headline about them. We have 100 million adults who are pre-diabetic or diabetic. And we have, as you we have now, the autism rates have gone from now most recent numbers we think are going to be about 1 in 31, 1 in 12, so they're going up again from 1 in 10,000 when I was a kid. And we are going, at your direction, we are going to know by September. We've launched a massive testing and research effort that's going to involve hundreds of scientists from around the world. By September, we will know what has caused the autism epidemic, and we'll be able to eliminate those exposures.
So big. Think of that. So it was 1 in 10,000 children had autism, and now it's 1 in 31. Not 31,000, 31. That's a horrible statistic, isn't it? And there's got to be something artificial out there that's doing this. So you think you're going to have a pretty good idea, huh?
We will know by September.
There will be no bigger news conference than that. So that's it. If you can come up with that answer where you stop taking something, you stop eating something, or maybe it's a shot, but something's causing it. It can't be from 10,000 to. Can you imagine that, Marco? That's a big number. Thank you very much. You're doing great. Thank you, Bobby. Please, Doug.
Well, Mr. President, one of your primary administration goals is to make sure that we unleash American energy, and of course the strategy behind that is when we do that, it helps make it more affordable for all Americans. Energy isn't just industry, it is the foundation of every other industry, whether it's food, manufacturing, clothing, transportation. And then also when we've got the ability to generate and not just be energy independent but energy dominant, then we have the opportunity to sell energy to our friends and allies versus them buy it from our adversaries. And our adversaries were funding terrorism and conflicts against our allies by their oil and gas sales that were going through a Swiss cheese set of sanctions. So with your creation of the National Energy Dominance Council, over half the people at this table serve on that. Everyone has been engaged, whether it's interactions with negotiations with other countries, with putting sanctions in place that actually work, with cutting deregulation, working on biofuels, building infrastructure for transportation. There's a whole range of things that are being tackled. But when in the outcome of all that is that the Biden administration was restricting supply, you're increasing supply. When you increase supply, then prices start to come down. And we have a huge opportunity to do this. Just in interior alone, there's 500 million acres of surface, 700 million acres of subsurface, and 2.5 billion acres of offshore. And the Biden administration was trying to restrict this so that you couldn't get a timber lease, you couldn't cut a tree, you couldn't graze a cow, you couldn't develop oil and gas minerals, and you couldn't develop the critical minerals we need for our technology, for our defense industries, and to be able to help us win the AI arms race against China. So we're opening up this, and with your executive orders and your work, we've on Tuesday, historic day, you ended the war on beautiful clean coal, which has been going on since Obama took office. China gets 60% of their electricity from coal. They're opening up they've opened up 94 gigawatts of coal in the last year as part of this AI arms race. 94 gigawatts, that's enough for 94 Denvers. To be able to 1 gigawatt per metro area like that, it's unheard of. So we have an opportunity under your leadership to come back. The Gulf of America had its first offshore lease sale, which is scheduled for later this year. But that was the industry loved that because the Gulf of America is now open for business again, and there's as much as 7 billion barrels of oil accessible now. They've increased the upside of what they think that is. On the coal front, the estimate is the financial value of the coal in America is $8 trillion. That was an asset on the balance sheet that we've now being put back on again. And of course, in Alaska, with your separate executive orders to unleash Alaska energy between ANWR, the North Slope, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve Alaska, all of those, we've reversed Biden decision. Those are all open for business again. And all of this is leading to the investment coming to America. The smart money is coming to the U.S. That's why we've got trillions of dollars of investment that are showing up at the door, because they know if they're going to do manufacturing here, there's going to be energy to power their plants. And so, again, thank you for your leadership, and thank you for everything you're doing.
Very good. Thank you. Marco?
Well, Mr. President, one of the most important things I believe you'll achieve in your presidency is reordering the world in a proper way. For 31 years, more than 31 years now, multiple administrations have allowed the Chinese to deindustrialize this country, to take away jobs and factories and pillars of our national strength. And what you're doing now, I think, is a great service to our country, but ultimately to the world. And I want to congratulate you and your team that's working on that, because it has extraordinary geopolitical implications, as you see from all these other countries that are now coming here and wanting to join something that actually makes it's crazy to allow these. I mean, basically, we lived in a world where Chinese companies can do whatever they want in America, but our companies cannot do anything over there unless they allow it, and even then they steal our stuff and reverse engineer it. So just reordering all of that has dramatic implications on peace and security of the world, so we thank you. An important meeting, thanks to you, is going to happen on Saturday for the first time in a long time. There'll be direct talks between Ambassador Witkoff and a top-level leader in Iran. We hope that'll lead to peace. You've been very clear what Iran is never going to have is a nuclear weapon, and I think that's what led to this meeting, and we'll wait for him to come back from it, and we're hopeful about that. I would also say that we are receiving, and I think the Department of Homeland Security can confirm this, historic cooperation from countries all over the world. Number one, in taking back their citizens. Every country in the world has to take back people that are illegally in another country. And we have countries that refuse to do it or will kind of ignore our calls. All of them are doing it. The ones that are not are paying a price. And we've also found cooperation in other countries that are willing to take some of these people, some very dangerous criminals. I know the President of El Salvador will be here next week, has really been a good friend of the United States in that regard. These are some of the worst people you'll ever encounter. And Pam knows this, and Christy knows this from the work they're doing. And one last point I want to make, Mr. President, and again, it's under your leadership, it's actually under your executive order. If you come to this country as a student, we expect you to go to class and study and get a degree. If you come here to vandalize a library, take over a campus, and do all kinds of crazy things, we're going to get rid of these people, and we're going to continue to do it. So when we identify lunatics like these, we take away their student visa. No one's entitled to a student visa. The press covers student visas like there's some sort of birthright. No, a student visa is like me inviting you into my home. If you come into my home and put all kinds of crap on my couch, I'm going to kick you out of my house. And so, that's what we're doing with our country, thanks to the President. And last but not least, very important development this week, but both Pam and I were very excited. The finest higher education institution in the United States, University of Florida, is also now the national champions in basketball, and we hope you'll host them here soon, Mr. President. Go Gators.
They're coming. They're coming.
Good for the SEC.
They're coming very soon.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. You're really doing a great job. We appreciate it. Any question?
Mr. President, can you give us a reaction to today's stock market drop, and also give us a sense of the next steps with China?
Well, I haven't seen it because I've been here for 2.5 hours, so I'll be seeing it. I think Scott went out. Scott, you want to have a statement on that?
Sure. Look, the up 2, down 1 is not a bad ratio, or up 10, down 5. And I think, as we have talked about, as we go through the queue and settle with these countries who are going to bring us their best offers, we will end up in a place of great certainty over the next 90 days on tariffs. We had very good inflation numbers today. Oil's down. We had a successful bond market, so I don't see anything unusual today.
And next steps for China, sir?
Well, we'll see what happens with China. We would love to be able to work a deal. They've really taken advantage of our country for a long period of time. They've ripped us off beyond nobody. How people stood for it, sitting in my position, is not even believable. And we're talking about many presidents, not just a couple. But they did, and all we're doing is putting it back in shape. We're resetting the table. And I'm sure that we'll be able to get along very well. I have great respect for President Xi. He's been, in a true sense, he's been a friend of mine for a long period of time. And I think that we'll end up working out something that's very good for both countries. I look forward to it.
Mr. President, China retaliated today by reducing the number of American films that can be shown there. What's your reaction to them now targeting cultural exports from the United States?
I think I've heard of worse things. Yes, please.
Also on China, the Ukrainians say they have evidence that Chinese soldiers have been found fighting for the Russians in Ukraine. Can the U.S. verify this? And if so, what does the U.S. plan on doing to China to counteract that?
We'll look into it, but I think beyond that, we're really looking to get that war stopped. They're losing 2,500 and even more than that young people a week. They're Russian and they're Ukrainian. They're not American, but they're people. And we're seeing if we can get it stopped. And I think we're making progress. I appreciate the ballerina who was released. It was at the request of a very good friend of all of ours, actually. Dana White called me and he said it's the friend or the relationship of one of the fighters for UFC or one of the fighters. And Dana's an incredible guy, and we spoke to President Putin about it, and they made a deal. They released the young ballerina, and she is now out, and that was good, so we appreciate that. We hope that we're going to be able to make a deal relatively soon with Russia and Ukraine to stop the fighting. It's so senseless. It's such a horrible thing. It would have never happened if I were president, but it did happen, and we were given that card. And I think we're going to get it. I think we're going to get it stopped. We've got to get going. We've got to get it. We have to move it faster. Likewise with the hostages, we're making progress. There's 59 hostages, but only 24 of them are living, and that's the way it's been presented to me by the mothers of some of the dead, mothers and fathers of some of the dead hostages, and they want the bodies of their baby, as they say, their baby, their young boys. They want them back as much as if they were alive. It's amazing, because when I met the hostages 2 weeks ago here, I couldn't believe what they had to go through, by the way. But when I met them, they said, yeah, there's 59, but 24 are living. And they actually consider, I guess if you're a parent, you do consider it this way, that the remainder who are dead, the 24 that are alive, the remainder that are dead, they want them back just as much as they would want them back if they were alive. It's really pretty amazing and pretty sad. So we're getting close to getting them back. We have a lot came back. A lot of people are very grateful. Some came back in pretty bad shape. Some came back, they're okay. I think they're going to be scarred mentally for a long time, because if you sit down and talk to them, as I have, what they went through is incredible. But we're making progress. We're dealing with Israel. We're dealing with Hamas, and it's a nasty group.
Mr. President, how close are you to the first country coming to actually make a deal with the United States over tariffs? Is it days, months?
Well, I think it's very close, but we have to have a deal that we like. We don't want a deal that's going to be a bad deal, or I could make every deal in one day if I wanted to. I could do this in one day. I could just say, here's what we'll do. And I was saying to the people before, to Scott, mostly to Scott and Howard, and some of the other people that work with us on the negotiations. We have a lot of law firms that have paid me a lot of money in the form of legal fees. We're going to probably use those firms to, if we can, I think we can. I'll make a contribution to the country, but they're great firms. They're the best firms, the biggest, and really the most prestigious. And we may be using them to help you guys out, because you're going to need a lot of lawyers. And I'm not sure Pam's going to be happy if I say, can you send over about 200 lawyers that work on trade? She's working on criminal stuff, and I think that's going to be her focus more than anything else. So we'll find out if we can do that. But we have a lot of lawyers that you've been reading about, where they paid $100 million a firm on average. Now we have the final 4 or 5 are at $125 million. So I have a lot of legal fees I could give to you people, and we might as well use them. Hopefully I won't need that many legal fees or that much. I may. Who knows? After it ends, after we leave, maybe I'll need it. But if I do, it's not going to be very pleasant. So I think we're going to try to use these very prestigious firms to help us out with the trade, because we have a lot of countries. But we want to make deals that are proper for the United States, not just we can make deals easily. We want to make them proper.
Mr. President, if you aren't able to reach the deals that you want to see at the end of the 90 days, will you put those higher tariffs in place, or will you extend
Well, that's what would happen. I mean, if we can't make the deal that we want to make, or we have to make, or that's good for both parties, it's got to be good for both parties. And then we'd go back to where we were.
You'd go back to the numbers that you announced last week?
I think so.
You wouldn't extend the pause?
Yeah. We'll have to see what happens at that time.
Thank you, Mr. President. You said yesterday you were considering some exceptions for companies. Can you talk about what you're considering? And then also on the reciprocal tariffs, you said they'd be substantially lower. Is the same math formula going to be used, or is that tossed out?
I'm not considering now for any country or company, but it's possible that I would. But I'm not. We don't have that situation right now. People understand where we are, what we're going to do. But it could happen. It's called flexibility. You have to have certain flexibility.
What are you planning on using the money that you're gaining from revenue through the tariffs on?
Paying down national debt, reducing taxes, creating good budgets, helping Christie with the border and all of the other things. I built hundreds of miles of wall, as people now understand, 571 miles of border wall in the first administration. But we're going to beef it up, and we're going to add more. And, the numbers are incredible, really. The numbers are what's taken place. We had great numbers, but these numbers are topping my last administration. And Christie and Tom Homan have done an amazing job. But it's an expensive process. This weekend, where they used to have hundreds of thousands of people standing there pouring through the border in Tijuana, Mexico, this weekend they had nobody. You had a man sweeping this massive piece of concrete, which is, the area where they said massive. And I've looked at that during the Biden administration. You couldn't see a piece of that concrete. There were so many people on it. You couldn't, if you had helicopter shots, you couldn't see concrete. Now, this weekend, you had nobody there but a man with a broom sweeping it and cleaning it up. Pretty amazing. It's really an amazing job. But it will be used for that. It'll be used for a lot of things. It'll be used by the Department of Justice for doing a great job. Pam is doing a fantastic job. So it's going to be used for a lot of different things.
Mr. President, on the 10% tariff, is that a basement? Is that the
It's a baseline.
Can countries negotiate that to bring that
It depends
down?
on what they're adding. Some countries we have massive deficits with, or they have big surpluses with us, and others it's not that way. So it depends. That's why it's really they're all different. Every country is different. Some have certain advantages that others don't have, and certain things. We have some. China has a surplus of $1 trillion. I mean, the numbers are crazy, and others have basically no surpluses. We have some that are pretty even, but they hurt us in other ways, and we just want to get that taken care of. So everyone is a little bit different.
So are you negotiating with the EU as one bloc or individual nations for the tariffs?
We're looking at it as one bloc. They've been very tough, but they were very smart. They were ready to announce retaliation, and then they heard about what we did with respect to China and others, but China, and they said, we're going to hold back a little bit. They decided to hold back. I thought they were very smart. Look, the EU is very smart, but they really have taken advantage of the United States. They were formed for the purpose of taking advantage of the United States, and I don't blame them, and I don't blame China. I don't blame anybody. I blame the people that were sitting at that desk in that other beautiful Oval Office for allowing it to happen. Many presidents I blame. They should have never allowed it to happen. And I'm doing something that a lot of them wouldn't want to do. But I'm here, I do those things, and we're going to make this country great again. We were taken advantage of by almost everybody. I sat back in the last administration. I would actually read them. I don't have to read them now. I know them so well. I would read some of these documents that were signed, deals, and I said, who would do a deal like this? Who would do it? You've seen it, Elon.
Yeah.
I'd look at deals where it's so one-sided. Even we have a deal with Japan, and we get along great with Japan, and we had the Prime Minister here. He was fantastic. As you know, Abe was great. Shinzo was great. He was a good friend of mine, unfortunately no longer with us. But we defend them, but they don't have to defend us. I said, that doesn't sound too good. But we have a deal where, a defense deal. We pay hundreds of billions of dollars to defend them. But if for any reason, in other words, we pay all the money. They don't pay anything. But if we're ever attacked, they don't have to do a thing to protect us. I said, oh, that sounds like a wonderful deal. So that's just one out of thousands. And I just wonder who did this. And it's people that either hate our country or didn't care, an expression that you use. I think it's really a lot of them didn't care. It's just hard to believe how bad they are. Now that's a little bit of a defensive deal, but I'm talking about trade deals, the same thing. They're so bad, you would say, how come? And even when I'd renegotiate, like I'd go to a country, they'd give me everything I asked for. I said, why didn't somebody ask for it like originally? They give me everything. I think when they were negotiating, they didn't care, or they didn't ask, or they were shy, or they were very stupid, or they hate our country. Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
You were speaking about Japan. Can you clarify what your vision is for U.S. Steel? You referenced it yesterday.
Yeah.
There's some questions about what you actually want
Sure.
to see out of
Look,
that.
U.S. Steel is going to do very well now because of tariffs, and I don't know why they even need a deal. But the only thing is, U.S. Steel, if you go back 80 or 90 years, that was a behemoth in this. That was our biggest, most. If we were around, we would have been very proud of it. Today we have different types of companies that are big. Google, it's not the same as U.S. Steel. And I love Google, and I got to like the people that run it. They're very capable people. They didn't like me so much in the first administration, but they like me a lot now. I don't know what happened, but I like them. But, I think they would be the first to admit, when I envisioned, you look at some of those steel factories from 90 years ago, it was a different kind of a country, but they were miles long. Today you see just empty hulks. Those hulks are going to be filled up very soon because of what I'm doing with tariffs. It was a different kind of a thing. But if I didn't do that in the first term, my first term, if I didn't put tariffs on, we would have, because China and others were dumping steel, billions of dollars of steel. Our steel companies were all closing. Every fact, we wouldn't have one steel plant open. And now we have a steel industry that's doing very well, but soon it's going to be thriving, really thriving. And those factories are going to be filled up, but more importantly, they're going to build brand new ones. Nucor and so many other companies call me, Nucor being a big steel company. They're building massive new steel plants, and it's great. And likewise, car companies. We have many, many car companies. 3 of them, I'm not looking to hurt Mexico, and I like Mexico. And by the way, I think the new president is a terrific person, a fantastic woman. We've had many conversations. She's a very elegant, just a fantastic person. And she's been very nice, very, very nice. But I'm not looking to hurt them, but we have 3 car plants that were under construction in Mexico. They stopped constructing, and now they're going to build in the United States because of tariffs. See, we should have never let this happen, because whoever it was that was president at the time, we lost 90,000 plants and factories since NAFTA. 90,000. It's not believable. How about that, Laura? You're in that sort of world of factories and plants.
Manufacturing, construction jobs, bringing those workers back home.
That's right. We're going to bring them all back. But think of it, from that period of time, which isn't so long ago, we lost. I said the other day, if you had a map on a big wall like this, And if you had pins, 90,000, I don't know if you'd have enough. I don't think you'd have enough room on the map to put the pins. 90,000 factories that we've lost since NAFTA. And it's not even, and about 6 million jobs, but really, I think probably a lot more than that, but they say 6 million jobs. We're going to bring many of that back. I think we're going to bring more than all of it back. We're going to be better and stronger than ever before. But if a president, when they were leaving, said, look, you can leave, but if you're going to build a factory someplace else, and you think you're going to come and sell your steel or your car or any product that you make, your pharmaceuticals, which we're going to do, we're going to get them all back. But if you think you're going to just, all they had to do is say this, and they wouldn't have left. You know, I said it the other day. I said it with respect to, I made a speech a year ago, and I told them if I win, we're going to charge a big, big tariff at the border. And people were thinking about building in Mexico a car plant. And I said, we're going to have a big tariff. So if you want to build a car, you're going to have to pay 25% more than the cost of that car. You're going to have to pay 25% tariff at the border. They would have never left. They could have kept everybody. If a president said, if you leave this country, you leave Michigan, you leave Detroit, you leave any of our states, because to me they're all the same. I love them all. I love them all, and I probably won them all, but they say I won most of them. I think I won them all, but that's okay. But all you had to say if you were the president is, if you leave and you think you're going to now fire all those workers, leave all that, everything behind, and you're going to build in another country and sell it any, and no, you're not going to. You're going to pay 50% or 100% tariff. They would have never left. And all you had to say, Marco, all you had to say very simply is, you don't have to write it down. All you have to do is say it verbally. If you leave, you're going to pay 100% tariff. Therefore, don't leave. They would have never left. But they left 90,000 plants. I mean, it's hard to believe that many. It's not, you can't envision it. So just getting back to your, because I'm the great weaver of all time. To weave, you have to be a genius. To go on tangents, anybody can do that. But we'll get back to your original U.S. Steel. U.S. Steel is a big name in this country. It's Babe Ruth is a big name. We have a lot of big names, but not too many. U.S. Steel is one of the great names in the history of our country. And normally I wouldn't mind so much. I wouldn't be thrilled with it. But to buy for a foreign country, and we love Japan, but for a foreign country to buy that cherished U.S. Steel brand, that's hard for me to do. And maybe somebody else may want it. The company Nippon that's involved with it is a big, powerful company who do a good job. But why can't...
All right, guys, there you have it. President Trump, with regard to a very lengthy cabinet meeting, the president flanked by Mr. Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, along with Mr. Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State. President Trump stating a number of things, saying yesterday happened to be the biggest day in history with regard to the market. The president stated there will be tough times ahead. However, we all will get through it. The president also took credit for being very transparent with regard to his cabinet meetings, stating that he has time and time again had it open to the press. With regard to China, the president states that they have taken steps to really have and make an agreement with China. However, that has not happened as of yet. Obviously, we will continue to stream what the president and the rest of the cabinet have to say on our Fox Local app and our YouTube channel, as you can see right there on your screen. All right, I want to take you to another developing story right here in the nation's capital. You're taking a live look at Reagan National Airport, where we're getting a report of an incident that took place just around 12:45 or so. Several news agencies reporting this as well. You see on your screen right now a congressional member stating that, well, a plane that was looking to depart that he happened to be on, well, it was clipped by another plane with regard to the wing. No injuries have been reported thus far, and he's not the only one. You see right there another report of, yet again, a congressional member stating that he too happened to be on that plane. And we do know, according to several other news agencies, that plane was actually headed to JFK Airport. Of course, Obviously, this is a big story. Of course, this follows the horrific incident that took place back in January, where a military helicopter collided with a commercial jet, killing some 67 people on board. But wait, there's more. Obviously, there have been a plethora of incidents. We know about that very close call a couple of weeks ago that took place, and, well, that fight in the control tower, and recently the FAA replacing 3 control tower supervisors. Yet again, a report of a plane that was looking to depart Reagan National Airport, the wing being clipped by the wing of another plane. Our very own Tom Fitzgerald is on the scene, and we'll have a report sometime in the very near future. That just does it for us. On behalf of my producer, Amy, I'm Guy Lambert. This is the Fox 5 Live Zone.
Record of being up there for the entire show.
Well, take a listen, because we got some friends who wanted to see who's having a great day.
Oh my goodness.
He just linked with the 25-year-old DC bachelor. You ever see that guy?
No, I haven't.
What's his name? Tony P. They linked, like, recently. I saw a video of them at the steakhouse together, and they're like, "It's great to be here at Tony P."
Getting national attention are Tony P.
Okay, I had some friends tell me this, and I didn't believe it. Because Tom Segura did a thing on me about a year ago, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And I mean, Shane's an incredible comic, so
all you mass people bond together.
I guess we do.
That's very cool.
It's crazy.
But guess what? You're in the house here at Fox 5 in the DMV.
This is the most important thing.
With all the top stories impacting us across the region. But let's go up to the balcony. We got our friends there waiting for us. Guess who's back from his trip out west? It is, of course, Tony P. hopping off that plane from LAX, joining us here in-game host, of course, Kyle on the mic. And she's a runner. She's a track star. She's also a radio host. Autumn Joy. Autumn, come on down with the pantsuit today.
All right. Come on down, Autumn.
Ladies first.
Get down now. Ladies first now.
This is a first for me. Wow, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Hello.
Poor Autumn. Usually she stays in the up in the balcony. I don't know how that works out.
Me. I am always in the balcony.
Well, I would say that much of your affliction, Tony, is self-amassed. But anyways.
It's also purposeful, too.
Yes, sure, purposeful. This can come very soon, Tony, so don't get too accustomed to being down here.
Run down now. I heard the buzzer.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Kyle is ready. He's like, I flew all the way out here to be up in the balcony. Get me down there. As you know, this show is yours. We want you to call us. Tell us what you're thinking, what you're talking about back at home. The Take It To hotline, 202-895-3200. Anything is fair game. So call us and let us take your calls and see what you're talking about so that we can weigh in. Of course, let's get it started right here off the top tonight. Montgomery County Public Schools announcing they are once again extending the school year. This after they went over their allotted amount of snow days due to the harsh winter storm this year. The district already extending the calendar once this year, but the last day of classes will be June 17th. The kicker is the final 3 days of school, June 13th, 16th, and 17th. They'll all be early release days for the students. So we hit the streets here in Montgomery County to get a take on the change.
Honestly, I don't think that really helps anybody, because if you're a working parent like myself, extra school days, if it's still a half day, doesn't help you as far as things go, because you still got to find childcare and this, that, and the other, or miss work. So it really defeats the whole purpose.
What do you think they should do?
Just don't extend the school year. That'd be the simple answer. or go full days if they're going to extend.
I think that the kids are going to be checked out. I don't think that they're really, either they're not going to go or they're not going to be interested in those 3 days.
I think Montgomery County is trying to compromise, as it always does, and the end result is 1.5 days versus 0 days. So I'm not sure they're going to get that much more out of it, other than maybe a few senior skip days will be added. I actually would like to say the entire public school system, not just Montgomery County, changed so that there are longer hours and they're more in alignment with mothers and fathers working, so that they don't have to extend the school year, they just have to extend the school day.
If those 3 half days, the kids are actually learning and doing something productive, and then it's worth it. If they're just filler days to meet a commitment, or if they're not being well used by teachers and students to help the students, then it's not. It depends on how they're used.
Ooh, a lot of hot takes.
A lot of nuance.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of nuance. We'll start with you, Autumn Joy. I grew up in this area. You got kids in school. What do you think about the added 3 days, but they're really half days?
Yeah, I think that's pretty dumb, honestly. Why not just make one whole day and then a half day? Why do 3 in a row like that? And I do agree with the person that said they're going to be checked out. Remember the last day of school, you go there just to hang out with your friends and not really go to class like that. So I don't think it's necessary at all.
This, of course, goes back to the weather. We had so much weather earlier in the winter, and then you have this allotted time of instruction that's lost. But really, half days, is that going to be it?
I'll tell you, there's a lot of productivity going on. They'll be watching movies, bring the old TV, and they'll be watching all on Matilda, all the old movies from years ago. They might be bringing out some VHRs in these schools sometimes, going back. But you know what? In all honesty, it just doesn't make any sense overall. Right? If you think about, again, childcare, it makes sense to make it for a full day, or it's like running in place. You're not getting anything done. Maybe add 1 extra day. Maybe do a weekend day even. During
weekend.